What's up, everyone? This is StoryHive on location in Vancouver with beats, eats, and more. Yeah, there we go. There we go. I'm your host, Jamn Camrn, broadcasting live from Noravera Studio here on the unceded ancestral lands of the Musqueam, the Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations. Big shouts out to TELUS STORYHIVE, who's made today's episode possible. Today on the show, we're tapping into movement and flow with Risto Duggan, the creator of Rocket Yoga Vancouver. Risto blends elite athletic training with deep knowledge of recovery and mobility. After working through his own injuries, he created Active Yin, a unique approach to yin yoga focused on functional movement for the hips, shoulders, back, and splits. His philosophy: practice makes progress. Outside the studio, he's a house music lover, often found in local house dance classes, including my own, continuing his exploration of what the body is truly capable of. Thank you so much for being here, Risto. I'm
so stoked.
Yeah, dude, me too. I have been thinking about it, and it's awesome because every week we have an hour-long dialogue together. It just happens to be in a different context, right?
Totally.
More instructional. You know, you're my teacher through yoga. I've taken all of your different yin classes focused on those body parts. And every week you're in my house class learning different combos, you know, sweating up a storm, which is beautiful. You know, we talked about in that intro, there's so many different things that you do already, so many different modalities. And so I really want to start from the top, you know, take it back from the beginning. What are some of your earliest introductions to movement and creative practice? And how have these introductions continued to shape your current practices?
Well, I guess I started mainly in athletics. So the first one was badminton. And my mom was an amazing badminton player. And so I ended up playing with her and doing mixed doubles and stuff like that. And then I ended up doing singles. And then I ended up representing my city for badminton. And then from there, it went to basketball. And I ended up playing university basketball. And I was playing like 3 hours a day all the time. And I used to have a crazy vertical back in the day before I wrecked my knees so much.
Right.
I used to compete in dunk contests and played tons and tons of basketball. And then basketball, to keep my vertical up, I would play volleyball on the off season. And so volleyball ended up being the easiest transition once basketball took me as far as it could go. And then I went into beach volleyball and I became a beach professional. And I ended up playing the best team in Canada a couple times. A couple of the silver medalists, John Drakic and Kanjar, they were 1 and 2, but they were split up. And so I ended up playing them a couple times, and they killed us. But but it was really cool just to say that you played, you know, the
100%.
best in Canada. And then and then all that went into snowboarding. My buddy took me snowboarding once from Ontario, and I hated winter. I played basketball, so I was indoors, and I played volleyball, so I was indoors. And then in the summer, I was out at the beach all the time playing. But I hated, like, living in Ontario. I don't know if you know the weather in Ontario, but it's brutal.
I know of it. I've never been in it.
Yeah, it's super rough. And so I would be bitter all winter. And then my buddy took me snowboarding. And I was like, oh my God, this is what I've been missing. And I moved to Whistler 6 months later. And then I lived there for 5 years. And that was the craziest 5 years of my life. I could never do it again, but it was nuts.
Yeah, no doubt. And so that was 5 years straight, or were you going back and forth?
No, that was 5. That was 5 years straight.
Wow.
Yeah. So by the end of there, I was racing pro border cross, and I had a freestyle sponsor, and then I would just break bones. That was the problem. So
breaking your own bones.
Okay. I snapped my femur on a tree, and I blew my knees out, and I broke a whole bunch of other bones, and then you find that you have to do all these recuperation and rehabilitation exercises to recover, to keep going. And then I got into bodybuilding when I left Whistler, because I had to get out of Whistler before I didn't
You couldn't get out of Whistler.
didn't live anymore because
exactly.
it was rough. It was pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I went down, got into the gym, and then there was a yoga studio at Olympic Gym where I was training,
Mm-hmm.
and so I just took a yoga class on my 40th birthday.
Right.
And by the end of the class, I got so humbled. It was crazy. I couldn't reach past my knees. I had to sit on 3 blocks to sit cross-legged because my knees were really messed up.
Totally, yeah.
And then by the end of the class, I was like, whoa, this is really what I need.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's a kind of a cool story about, I guess it was probably about 3 months after I started, the teacher didn't show up. Something happened.
Right.
He didn't show up. And I was a bit of a keener, so I'm doing all this stuff at home. And then everyone's about to leave. And I said, do you guys want to stretch? I mean, we came here to do a class and I got doing a bunch of stuff at home. You want me to guide you what I'm doing at home? And they're like, sure. And then so by the end of the class, 3 of the girls in the class came up to me and they're like, you should be doing this. So that kind of like aha'd me from there. And then before I knew it, I was teaching full time. And yeah, and that's been 20 years now.
That's been 20 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So even like from the beginning, working with sports, it was always like a multitude of things.
Yeah.
It was a multitude of activities. And then coming into snowboarding, I think that's awesome that like the passion and the drive that was planted by your friend, that it just superseded, like, you know, the weather didn't matter.
Yeah.
Like this whole thing, you were like, I'll be in the environment because I love this thing so much. But then it is also interesting too, like, you know, for myself, I understand that journey of, you know, going through many, many, many injuries, right? Like early 20s, like I messed up my like head, shoulders, knees, toes, and everything in between, you know?
Breaking for sure.
Breaking for sure. I never broke any bones, but I did have really bad bursitis. Like I had like a couple of herniated discs and hips out of place. My toes were feeling it. Like it was just not the one. But that's also fantastic that you were able to find yoga as a way to get into a better flow, you know, find yourself a little bit with that. And I know for me, like a lot of the rebuilding process, like fully shaped my understanding now of the body. So that's actually something that I want to ask you about is like, you know, in rebuilding in that way, like through the process of injury, what were some things that you learned? I imagine, again, it's multitudinous, but, you know.
Oh my God. Yeah. Well, there's just so much, like in the yoga world, there's a lot of people that come from gymnastics and dance.
Right.
And so they slide into yoga and they're like, this is really easy, man. You know, like this is the simplest thing I can do because I can already do all this stuff.
That was me for sure.
You know?
Yeah.
So if you haven't been damaged and you haven't worked yourself through stuff, it's really hard to teach from a place of compassion because all these people that you're teaching have a whole bunch of issues and you don't know until you learn what they're doing and then you see how they're moving and then you can apply some of the knowledge that you've acquired getting through your stuff to help them. And if you don't have damage and stuff that you work through, it's really hard to even know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So a lot of that, I'm really glad that I actually was the poster child and got so damaged to recover through this stuff and keep going. Yeah. Yeah. I had a guy, his name was Dayton Warner, dark black guy, became my best friend through high school. And him and his family, they brought me in and they taught me basketball, music, dance, Jamaican culture, DJing, and I said skateboarding already. He and I used to skateboard and play basketball all the time. And then he started to take me to a lot of these black parties where I was one of maybe 5 or 6 white people in the whole place. And then we'd go to a different event every weekend and they were called sessions.
Okay.
And so it's funny because I'm hearing your story being in New York City and stuff like that. And I kind of find that we have a little bit of a similar background in that sense.
Some type of crossover in like the dance.
You know, you really
journey.
like respect the black culture and the music and what they've gone through. and I learned so much from him and his family, and sadly my parents were racist, and so I had to overcome that, and then basically take what I've learned from Dayton and my buddy Booty Surya, East Indian guy, and then before coming out, I dated Japanese women and Chinese women, and so I would always bring different cultures back home to show my parents, basically, because they were really set in their ways. They were both awesome, but they were raised from Halifax back in the day, where it was the last segregated place in Canada. Right. So they still have that, and I had a lot of that stuff ingrained in me that I had to overcome. And so I'm really glad that I did, and I'm just so glad that I got to meet him and his family and learn the culture and smarten up.
Yeah, no, definitely.
And now we're getting now everything's going back, you know, with the whole Trump craziness. But anyways, yeah, I don't know if we want to go there.
Yeah. 100%, you know, big time, like coming back to what you said about fully respecting Black culture in all of its facets, you know, because Black culture proliferates in everything that we do, not just house dance that we share, but hip hop, jazz, funk, soul, you know, any type of dance modality that people are doing, there is some type of Black community involvement, you know, and not everybody realizes that and continue to practice those things or attribute them to different groups, you know, for example, like country music or rock music, also part of Black culture, you know, and it's beautiful that you were able to share that with your parents as well, just by way of being around and continuing to hold your ground in what you know to be true, what you know to be right. And again, shouts out your friend for bringing you out, showing you all those things. Music, dance, DJing, like that's the whole, like, you know, tier list there of,
and we're still connected through social media, which is super cool. From, you know, like back in, occasionally every once in a while he'll send me some stuff, and it's all, you know, it's just like, he's still educating me to this day.
100%. You know, each one teach one, just like you're my teacher, I'm your teacher, you know, we learn different things from different people. So I would, then there's so many different directions to take that, because that's like a lot of different things that you do in terms of dance then. So where did you go from there, and how old were you at the time when you were introduced to dance like that?
First class, 34.
You were 34. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
But Dayton taught me how to dance.
Dayton taught you how to dance. What was the first step that you learned?
We used to go to, we used to be in these sessions, and he was just an amazing dancer. So I just tried to copy him. Yeah. And I couldn't say first steps that I learned or anything, but I just tried to follow him. And those house parties were so amazing. Everyone was fully dressed up, and there was one wall of bass bins and then super tweeters up top. Okay. So that was it. So it was just like these massive wall of bass bins, and then so crazy highs and crazy lows. Yes. And that was it.
That's what you need. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like the vocals, the bass,
and
the
then
kicks.
you go into this basement room and you'd see eyeballs and teeth.
Got you.
You know,
right.
Like the occasional white dude mixed in the mix there, and people just throwing down, and it wasn't party time. It was dance.
Well, so it could be both.
Yeah, you know? But it was like it just opened my eyes to a whole other side of life. You know. And then I remember I took my first hip hop class, and because of the dance background with Dayton, I'm like, this is gonna be a piece of cake. And I go in there, I basically stood still with smoke coming out of my head, because I couldn't pick up anything. I couldn't even get the first 8 count, and I just sat there and I was just like, oh my god! And I'm like, I'm gonna get this. And then I taught hip hop for a while.
You taught hip hop for a while. Okay, where were you doing that at?
Yeah, this was at it was called Kit's Workout, where Kitsilano Y Yoga is right now. It used to be an old gym. Right. And there was a a guy who I knew from film. I was an actor for a while as well.
Mm-hmm.
The guy I knew from film, he was teaching at Olympic, and he showed up in the class, and he goes, "I'm the most inflexible yoga teacher you'll ever see." And I was sitting back, and I'm like, "That's what I needed to hear," you know, because you don't have to be a rock star to teach a class. You just have to know the body and know how to guide people. So that got me in. And then before I knew it, he's like, "I have this class at Kit's Workout. Do you want to take it over?" And back then we didn't even need our 200 hours. So anyone could teach yoga.
You could just jump, you could just apply and just say, I can do it.
You know?
Wow.
And so I was teaching at this place, and then before probably 2 or 3 months in, the room was full. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I created this class called Yoga Dance Mix.
Yoga Dance Mix. Okay, so what was the flow of that class?
So I would do like a warm-up, a yoga warm-up, and then I would teach basically a hip-hop class, and then a yoga cool-down. But we were like getting to the point where we were getting 6 to 8 counts in this class. Like it was a lot of choreography, and 100%. It was kind of a trip that it was happening like that. And and that was just, and then before I knew it, my first teacher, Ian Finn, he finally got his teacher training together, because I was just waiting for him to get his together, and it took quite a while. And then once I started training with him, then I did well over 300 hours with him and a bunch of workshops, and then I kind of took off from there, because my tattooist took me to Ian's class, and I went into this yoga class, and everyone hugged each other at the beginning, and the music was cranked, and he was kicking our ass while we were laughing our head off and pouring with sweat. And I'm like, okay, this is different than what I expected yoga to be.
For sure.
And so initially when I went in there, I'm like, I don't know if this is all real, you know? And then I finally saw this other side of it, and you're like, okay, yoga can be this too, and it can be this too. It doesn't have to be, you know, super woo-woo.
Right.
And it can be, it can be like a party.
100%.
But it can also be super dialed in and keep you healed and healthy, and help you grow and share. Yeah, it's great.
No, I get that. Like a lot of the work that I do, like especially when it comes to like film or even curating how I teach a class, it's fun, but it's meticulous, methodical fun. You know, there's like method to the madness and what's happening, you know? And some people, like, they have an image of what a class ought to look like. I know that I've held many images of what I feel is an ideal class, or just a class in general, right? But then you come to realize that there's actually so much more that can be achieved through different means, right? Like even the way that we like get down in a circle sometimes. Like there was that class we had on Valentine's Day where we all made the choreography together, you know? That's fantastic.
Yeah, and everyone feels way more of a part of it as well for that. Yeah, it's been super cool. I mean, like I had 5 or 6 years with Fran, and now I'll be with you for however long that's going to be.
Hopefully 5 or 6 plus.
Yeah. And I'm also still training with Jojo, and I've been training with him for like 25 years off and on. Okay. So it's been, I wish I could do a lot more dance, but you know, got to pay the bills.
Got to pay the bills 100%. And you're teaching like upwards of like 5-6 classes a day, right?
No, not that much, but I do 11 a week, and then other stuff. So sometimes you're doing privates, and sometimes you're doing events like this, and tapping into some other things.
Yes, very that. And
going to Nicaragua.
Absolutely. That's another avenue that I want to explore as well, is like your experience hosting retreats out there, and like, you know, how you got into it. And like,
this has been crazy. Yeah, because Ian, he would always make sure that there was a surfing component into his events. So I did 10 Tofino retreats where I would go long weekend, Labor Day long weekend.
That was like annual, you would do that?
Yeah, every Labor Day long weekend I did that. And then, but my thing is I'd always want to make it better every time. And to make it better, you don't make much more money.
Right.
You actually
right.
spend more money to make it better every time. So I it's like a push and pull with, you know, you don't want to charge too much, but you also want to offer them something better every time. So you kind of lose a little bit on your end. And then over time you realize actually people have more money than you do.
Got you. So they can transmute their value into
totally. Like I'm a yoga teacher. Like I'm not a, you know, not a rich dude.
Yeah. 100%.
And so I'm always giving people breaks, and I'm like, this person makes $300,000 a year.
Yeah, exactly.
And I make 50 or something like that, you know?
Totally.
You know, and you're like, and I'm giving them breaks all the time. So yeah. I've been learning my ways over the time. And then I finally, I was like, I just want to go someplace tropical for a week, because the weekend ones were really good, but they were a lot of work for a little bit of reward.
Right.
And so I wanted to get a week-long one in. And so I had been to Mexico and I'd been to Costa Rica, and both of those places, they just didn't grab me. Like I know the water in Mexico is not the greatest, and I know that there was a couple places, and they were doing tests of how safe the place was, and it was failing miserably.
Right.
And then you go into a lot of the places, and you see in the water, and there's 300 surfers fighting for waves. Well, this place that I go in Nicaragua, it's private.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got you.
So we got a private surf break.
Right.
With a gated community, so it's super safe. So people hear all these horror stories of Nicaragua, and it's not that at all.
Totally.
They pick you up at the airport and they drive you right to the retreat center, and it's gated and it's private.
Misconceptions dissolved.
Yeah.
And so how do you incorporate surfing into the program then? Is it just kind of like people have free time, and then if they want to surf, they surf?
Yeah. So with the place that I do, it's called Costa Dulce, and I teach first thing in the morning. I do a rocket class in the morning, and then I do a evening yin class, and then we have the whole day to surf. And their surf instruction is phenomenal.
Right.
And they have like cameramen on the beach, and so, and every year I would always like, oh, I'll do a lesson later. I'll do a lesson later. And I was never really improving.
Right.
And then 2 years ago, I'm like, okay, I'm going to do my first private. And my buddy just fixed me. After one private, I'm like, I can surf now.
100%.
Like he fixed like 7 freaking things in a 1 hour surf lesson. And then my next lesson, even though I was cooked, I was able to apply what he learned from the first one, and then add some of the new stuff that he added into the next one. So
totally.
So lessons are everything.
For sure.
So I'm learning, you know, you know, you can use your ego and try and figure it out yourself, or you can get the pros to help you out.
Absolutely. I mean, like I imagine you've definitely heard this saying where it's like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. So there's merit to the two different types of approaches, like what you were saying about the community classes, how it was like, you know, everybody was in it all together and like was just moving in such a way that like, you know, you're getting sweaty, you're having a hard time, but you were doing it all together every week, versus like having the eyes on you like that. And where you're under the microscope of like, actually you need to like micro adjust your knee just slightly. There's no way that you could have like picked up on that on your own. But then, to be able to take it elsewhere is such a beautiful experience. And kind of transitioning then into another, you know, we mentioned earlier, your major philosophy, you have it on your shirts, you say it all the time. It's one that I adopt myself, is practice makes progress. I would really like to know like how that has shown up in your life, how you came to understand that. Was it always a part of your practice?
From being basically a jock, I know that fundamentals are everything. And so that's the way I teach yoga as well. So I'm really, really drilling on where the feet are on the mat. Like I'm really technical about that kind of stuff.
Totally.
And, you know, and like where you sit in your chaturanga. If you're a power yogi and if you don't do chaturanga, I don't want to say why are you there, but that's your power move. So that has to be a strong pose in your practice, and you can't blow through it. And there's a lot of people that blow through stuff because they're not good at it in one try. And so you got to be able to find ways where you can get good at it in 1,000 tries.
Yes.
But you got to drill. You got to drill. Like the only way we can figure out our house steps is if we drill.
If you drill it.
And the only way we can get from one step is to another is if we drill the transitions. And so all that stuff is like just so paramount about actually capturing the essence of what we're doing, you know? And yeah, I love how all this stuff kind of weaves together. You know, the dance gives me the sweat, it gives me the brain work, it gives me this freedom, and then yoga allows the breath to work with the movement and then kind of mess with your ego a little bit more, because yoga and surfing have been the two things that have destroyed my ego. And I was like, my ego was stupidly big when I was a young kid. Because I found that when I got into sports, as soon as I put my mind to it, I was going to get very good, regardless. You know, I wouldn't start something unless I could do it very well. You know,
for sure.
I'm an all or nothing guy, like always have been. And so, yeah, it's just nice to see that house just is happening in Vancouver more.
Yeah. Well, incrementally over the years, you've been able to lay the groundwork of creating your Active Yin practice that incorporates your experience of injuries, your experience of playing sports, and like the diligence that has gone into developing those crafts, drills, building skills, your dance practice, like your understanding of music and of fun and of party, like all coming together into this beautiful place where now you have a concentrated space to like, boom, I'm going to show you all of this, like, you know, 25 hours you said before it was, which encompasses 62 years of life, you know, which it makes me wonder, like, that's where you're at now, right? Like planning this thing, laying the groundwork for this new thing. Where do you see yourself in 20 years from now? So Risto at 82, where do you see yourself?
Well, I hope what I'm doing, there'll be enough people following in my footsteps, and hopefully I've affected enough people where they can keep it going and keep sharing what fires them up. And I really, I find that a lot of the stuff that I was like, why did I do all this stuff? And then you find out 15, 20 years later, that's why you played all that basketball, and that's why you coached the volleyball, and that's why you did this, and I was an actor, and like that's why you were in front of the film, because now you're filming for yoga and you're comfortable because you've already done acting classes and you've already done this, and you know, like so all this stuff kind of weaves in. I also, from Dayton, he got me into DJing too. So I was an R&B DJ. I played breakbeats and I played disco house back in the day. And so I put that into my classes because you can only handle so much yoga music. You can only handle
oh my God. That's the laugh we were talking about before. You got me.
You seriously can only handle so much.
No, you play fire in class though. Like it's always like banging R&B, you know, like wow, you gotta put that on a t-shirt.
Totally.
Oh my goodness.
Totally. I mean, Ian Finn and Ryan Lear and like a bunch of these teachers, you go in and they're like jamming Tupac.
Yeah, heck
and you're like, why not?
Yeah,
you know,
as you should.
And like, as long as you're not like overdoing it and interrupting thing to show how cool you are or whatever, as long as it weaves in, you can make it work.
You can definitely make it work.
And it's your story. You know, it's. I think I just find that so much better. Like people trying to like, I could go on and on.
You could go on and on.
I could go on and on.
And
you know, all the people that memorize all the text and everything, and they spit text in class. I'm like, what do you think about what you just said? I don't want to know. I don't want you to spit text. I want to hear your interpretation of that text.
Exactly.
That's what I want to hear. You know,
100%.
You know, they said this, so that made me think this. That's what I want to hear.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
how that resonates with your life, and then how you can share that with my life. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you sharing your story in this last hour, and I appreciate you not just spitting text, but also, how you've interwoven all of these things into your personal practice, how our practices have crossed paths and cross-pollinated, all these wonderful things.
Yeah.
And it's incredible. Before we end here, I have a list of rapid fire questions that I would love to ask you. All right. So, just off the cuff, whatever comes to mind, feel free to say it. All right.
Into it.
Okay, here we go. Only one can stay. Surf or snowboard?
Surf.
Surf stays.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I can't believe I'm saying that, but yeah.
Wow.
Because you can do it longer.
Absolutely. Like what you were saying in Tofino, you could do it all year round.
I've been snowboarding for 35 years and I can actually surf now.
Okay.
So I've snowboarded.
All right. So that was, I thought that was going to be the hardest one. No, that was not it. Okay. If you could only listen to one house song for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Cheryl Lynn, Got to Be Real.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Underrated movement pathway or exercise everyone should do daily?
King Arthur.
King Arthur.
Yeah.
I don't know that one.
My starter class where your foot's up the wall.
Oh,
that
yes,
flex your quad,
of course.
psoas, all that stuff, stretch.
100%.
I prep every class off of that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because
nice.
everyone's low back is messed up.
King Arthur, everybody.
Yeah.
All right. Go-to superfood meal for a full day of physical practice / teaching.
I love a really good salad with a lot of little proteiny stuff in there. That doesn't even really doesn't have to be meat, but I like a really nice, well-made salad with some good protein in there.
Lentils,
it always makes me feel happy.
Yeah.
Like I finish it and I'm like, that was good.
You're ready for the next class.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay. What is the best night of dance you've ever had? Club, party, park, or otherwise?
Delight concert.
Wow, that was
Summer
with
Love.
the quickness. Wow.
Yeah. Summer Love, 93 in Squamish Valley. And Delight was playing. And it was incredible. I mean, I've been to 6 Burning Mans, but there was something about this one party, and the people that were there know it.
It just hit.
It was incredible.
Delight. That was the one.
Yeah, and at the end of the event, this is kind of a little cool story. We got time?
Yeah.
So at the end of the event, everyone was on the main stage, and then it moved over to a small stage, and then in the morning there was a beach set up, and Dimitri, Delight's DJ, was playing, and he was facing the water, and the back of his head was a big pot leaf, and on the other side of the over on the other side was a mountain range.
Okay.
With 2 peaks basically making the shape of an M.
Right.
The sun came up in between the M.
Whoa.
And the sun shone on the back of his head.
Right.
And the whole people around we were all caked out because it was at the morning of this massive event, and the sun just went on his head, and everyone got up and danced hard for about 2 more hours.
Right. Just that magical alignment.
It was
of
just
the
like
sun
it was
beam.
like, oh. Well, you got Delight's DJ playing.
Absolutely.
It was insane.
Like party's back on. Second, third, fourth wins.
It was insane.
Amazing. Okay, dream destination to host a retreat.
I go there every year.
Nicaragua,
Costa Dulce.
That's the dream destination.
I wouldn't go anywhere else.
How you doing?
Seriously, it's insane.
Yeah.
Private retreat, private surf break. They grow all the food they serve. They have 3 infinity pools. They have full spa service.
Yeah.
All the people that work there are so stoked to work there. Like as a kid, it's the goal.
Okay.
As a young kid who surfs and likes good food and likes good people, like you couldn't find a better place.
For sure, for sure. All right, living the dream then. And finally, when and where is the next event you're hosting, and how can we find out more about it?
The next Tea Dance is going to be May 17, and then May 25th to the 29th is going to be the Active Yin training in Tofino. And then I'm teaching all kinds of classes at Stretch. I'm there 6 days a week. And then I'm over at WeWell. And then it looks like I'm going to be getting another class at another studio, but I won't say that until that happens.
Okay, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, things are going really well. I've had a bit of a rough winter with arthritis, but that's just getting older.
True. It's the winter joints too. I don't move as well in the winter as I do in the summer, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, you know what, Risto? Thank you so much for being here and chatting with us. Yeah. Fantastic to have you. And thank you everybody for tuning into the live stream. And if you're a creative in Vancouver, dancer, artist, musician, have a story you want to share, scan the QR code somewhere in the chopped up video. And this could be you, a guest on the stage. Shout out to Noravera Studio, where we're shooting today. Shout out to TELUS STORYHIVE for powering today's episode. I'm Jamn Camrn. You've been watching STORYHIVE on location in Vancouver with beats, eats, and more.